Our planet has always been home to extraordinary life. Creatures that have evolved, adapted, and thrived through millions of years of change. But when we look back into the prehistoric world, we find a time unlike any other. A time when evolution gave rise to some of the most fascinating and fearsome animals ever to walk the earth. And none were more remarkable than the dinosaurs. We often imagine them as the colossal beasts of the Jurassic and Cretaceous, the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, Daspletosaurus, or the towering Brachiosaurus. However, these famous giants were actually the last chapters in a story that began much earlier, over 230 million years ago. To truly understand the dinosaurs, we need to travel far deeper into time, to the dawn of their dynasty, when the world was recovering from Earth's deadliest extinction. The continents were fused into one vast landmass called Pangaea. The air was dry, the climate unstable, and strange reptilian creatures ruled the land. Yet in the midst of this harsh and unpredictable world, evolution was quietly preparing its next masterpiece. From small, agile reptiles, barely the size of a dog, came the first true dinosaurs. They weren't the massive predators or giants we picture today. They were survivors, fast, alert, and perfectly adapted to a dangerous new planet. The early pioneers would set the stage for a reign that lasted more than 160 million years, shaping the course of life itself. This is the story of the oldest dinosaurs, the forgotten beginnings of one of nature's greatest success stories. Deep in the heart of what is now southern Tanzania lies the story of a creature that may have marked the very beginning of the dinosaurs. Its name is Nyasasaurus, meaning Lake Nyasa lizard, one of the most mysterious and fascinating names in all of paleontology. This ancient reptile lived during the Middle Triassic, around 243 million years ago, long before the likes of a T-Rex or Triceratops ever walked the earth. Its discovery pushed the origins of dinosaurs further back in time than anyone had expected, to an age when Earth was still recovering from its greatest mass extinction. The story begins in the 1930s. British paleontologist Francis Rex Parrington was exploring the Ruhuhu Basin near Lake Nyasa when he uncovered a handful of fossilized bones, fragments of vertebrae, bits of a limb, and sections of a skeleton. They came from a place known as Locality B36, part of the Manda Formation. The rocks there also held the remains of ancient creatures, cynodonts, dicynodonts, and early archosaurs, all survivors in a world rebuilding itself. Two specimens are known. The main one includes a right humerus and special vertebrae from the backbone and hips. The second, found nearby, contains neck and back vertebrae. Despite being discovered separately, the bones share such close similarities that scientists believe they belong to the same species. At one point, this animal was even mistaken for another dinosaur, Thikodontosaurus alophos, named back in 1932. Later research revealed that both belonged to the same enigmatic creature, Nyasasaurus parringtoni. When scientists finally looked closer, they found extraordinary details. The humerus showed a long deltopectoral crest, a ridge where strong muscles attached, a hallmark of true dinosaurs. Inside, the bone structure told an even deeper story. Dense networks of blood vessels and fast-growing tissue, the kind seen in rapidly growing animals like Coelophysis. They suggested that Nyasasaurus was warm-blooded, or at least metabolically active, traits that would later define the dinosaurs. Phylogenetic studies placed Nyasasaurus right at the threshold of the dinosaur lineage, possibly the earliest member of the group, or its closest known relative. Its vertebrae also bear connections between two bony articulations, the hyposphene and hypantrum, features found in early dinosaurs and some of their nearest cousins. The age of the Manda Formation is still debated. If the rocks truly date to the Denizian stage, about 243 million years ago, then Nyasasaurus predates the oldest South American dinosaurs, like Herrerasaurus and Eoraptor, by over 10 million years. If the formation is slightly younger, from the Carnian stage, then Nyasasaurus may have lived alongside the very first dinosaurs, not before them. Either way, its place in history is monumental. From only a handful of bones, Nyasasaurus parringtoni reveals a pivotal moment in evolution, the dawn of the dinosaurs. Whether it was the very first of its kind or a close forerunner, it stood at the threshold of an age that would reshape life on Earth for over 160 million years. Staurikosaurus is a genus of the Herrerasaurus dinosaur from the late Triassic of Brazil, discovered in the Santa Maria Formation. Described by Edwin Colbert in 1970, it represents one of the earliest known dinosaurs, dating to the late Carnian to early Norian stages, around 225 million years ago. This small, agile predator was fully bipedal, measuring about 2.1 to 2.25 meters, roughly 7 feet in length, and weighing around 12 kilograms, 26 pounds. Compared to later theropods such as Megalosaurus, Staurikosaurus was diminutive with long, slender limbs that hinted a swift and lightly built hunter. The fossil record of Staurikosaurus is fragmentary, consisting primarily of parts of the spine, hind limbs, and lower jaw, but enough is known to reconstruct its primitive anatomy. It retains several basal features, such as 5 fingers and 5 toes, and had only 2 vertebrae connecting the pelvis to the spine, a characteristic considered primitive among dinosaurs. The structure of its legs indicates that it was a capable runner. And its teeth reveal a clearly carnivorous lifestyle, serrated, laterally compressed, and curved backward, ideal for gripping prey and slicing through flesh. The long tail, composed of over 40 vertebrae, was stiffened toward the rear and likely acted as a stabilizer while running. According to Hans-Dieter Seuss, Staurikosaurus can be identified by a combination of 14 anatomical traits, including a long mandible nearly matching the femur in length, a thin but deep dentary with 13 to 14 teeth, and a vertebral column comprising 9 to 10 cervical, 15 dorsal, 2 sacral, and over 40 caudal vertebrae. Its hollow limb bones, elongated pubis, and robust S-shaped femur are additional distinguishing features, including a reduced anterior trochanter and a unique groove on the fibula. The name Staurikosaurus derives from the Greek stauros, cross, and sauros, lizard, referencing the Southern Cross constellation, an emblem of Brazil and a nod to its southern hemisphere origin. The species name, Price, honors the Brazilian paleontologist Llewellyn Ivor Price, who discovered the fossil in 1936. When it was first described, Staurikosaurus was one of the few known dinosaurs from the southern hemisphere, a remarkable discovery for its time. The rarity of its fossils may reflect either its ecological scarcity or the preservation challenges of its ancient environment, which recent evidence suggests was arid to semi-arid, dominated by conifers, cycads, seed ferns, and true ferns. Subsequent research has clarified its evolutionary position. Staurikosaurus and Herrerasaurus are now grouped within Herrerasauridae, a family of early Saurischian dinosaurs that likely evolved soon after the split between the theropod and sauropodomorph lineages. Although Staurikosaurus was smaller than Herrerasaurus, its femur just measuring 23 centimeters, 9.1 inches, compared to 47 centimeters, 8.5 inches. It shares several primitive traits linking the two. As a predator, Staurikosaurus likely hunted small to medium-sized vertebrates, including cynodonts, rhynchosaurs, and herbivorous synapsids. Its jaw may have included a sliding joint that allowed limited forward-backward motion, assisting in pulling prey toward the throat, though this remains debated due to poor fossil preservation. During the late Triassic, dinosaurs like Staurikosaurus were still minor components of terrestrial ecosystems. They coexisted with powerful Rauisuchian archosaurs, such as Rauisuchus, the dominant carnivores of their time, as well as a mix of herbivorous dicynodonts, rhynchosaurs, omnivorous edosaurs, and early cynodonts. Other early dinosaurs, including Saturnalia, Herrerasaurus, Eoraptor, and the primitive ornithischian Pisanosaurus, shared its world, indicating that both carnivorous and herbivorous dinosaur lineages were already established by the mid-Carnian. Recent uranium-led dating places the Santa Maria Formation at approximately 233 million years old, making it one of the planet's earliest known dinosaur-bearing localities, nearly coeval with Argentina's Iscocolasto Formation. Eoraptor was a small, lightly built dinosaur that represents one of the very first steps in the rise of the great giants to come. Belonging to a basal branch of the sauropodomorph lineage, this little predator omnivore roamed what is now northwestern Argentina around 231 to 228 million years ago, during the late Triassic, when dinosaurs were only beginning to emerge in the supercontinent of Gondwana. The only known species, Eoraptor lunensis, was described in 1993 from an exceptionally complete skeleton, one of the best preserved early dinosaur fossils ever found. At just 1.2 to 1.3 meters long, around 4 feet, and weighing less than 10 kilograms, about 22 pounds, Eoraptor was roughly the size of a medium dog. It was quick, agile, and built for speed, with a long, slender body and hollow limb bones. Its legs were twice the length of its arms, showing it moved upright on 2 feet. The femur measured about 15 centimeters, 6 inches, while the slightly longer tibia, about 15.7 centimeters, 6.2 inches, suggests it was an excellent runner. The skull of Eoraptor was lightly constructed, featuring a large nasal opening and a distinctive kink between the premaxilla and maxilla, an early feature later seen in more advanced theropods. Its hands had 5 digits, but only the first 3 bore large claws like leaves for grasping prey. The remaining 2 were too small to be useful in hunting. With a combination of sharp, recurved teeth at the front of the mouth and the leaf-shaped teeth toward the back, Eoraptor seems to have an omnivorous diet, probably eating small animals as well as plants. Paul Sereno and his team initially identified Eoraptor as one of the earliest known theropods, a primitive meat eater, due to its grasping hands and lightly built skeleton. However, as more fossils were discovered and new analysis conducted, opinions shifted. Some later studies placed Eoraptor among the earliest sauropodomorphs, the long-necked plant eaters that would eventually evolve into giants like Apatosaurus and Brachiosaurus. Today, most paleontologists agree that Eoraptor represents a very primitive sauropodomorph, close to the common ancestor of both sauropods and theropods. In life, Eoraptor probably fed opportunistically, catching small prey with its hands and teeth, then tearing it apart much like later theropods would. Its varied dentition, a mix of serrated and leaf-shaped teeth, suggests it was not a strict carnivore. It also lacked some of the jaw specializations seen in more advanced predators, such as a sliding joint for handling large prey. The world Eoraptor inhabited was lush and volatile. The Esquigalasto Formation, where its fossils were found, was a volcanically active floodplain with forests of ferns, horsetails, and giant conifers. The climate was warm and humid, but prone to seasonal rains, and Eoraptor shared this ecosystem with other early dinosaurs such as Herrerasaurus and Pisanosaurus, as well as a host of non-dinosaurian reptiles and synapsids. In fact, dinosaurs made up only about 6% of the animal fossils found in this formation, showing that in the late Triassic they were still far from the dominant force they would soon become. Herrerasaurus, or Herrera's lizard, is one of the oldest known meat-eating dinosaurs, a slim and powerful hunter that stalked the lush floodplains of what is now northwestern Argentina about 231 million years ago. It lived in the late Triassic, a time, as I said before, when dinosaurs were still rare newcomers in a world dominated by crocodile-like reptiles and early mammal relatives. Growing up to 6 meters long, 20 feet, and weighing around 350 kilograms, or 770 pounds, Herrerasaurus esquigalastensis was a lightly built predator designed for speed. Its long legs and stiffened tail kept it balanced while running, while its short but muscular arms ended in hands with 3 razor-sharp claws. Its jaws, armed with serrated teeth, could slice through flesh with ease. Unlike later carnivorous dinosaurs, Herrerasaurus had a unique flexible joint in its lower jaw, allowing it to grip struggling prey with remarkable precision. The first fossils were discovered in 1958 by a local rancher named Victorino Herrera, who stumbled upon ancient bones near the city of San Juan. The dinosaur was later discovered by Argentine paleontologist Osvaldo Reg in 1963, who named it Herrera's honor. For decades afterwards, scientists couldn't agree on what Herrerasaurus actually was, a theropod, a sauropodomorph, or something in between. Some even doubted whether it was a true dinosaur at all. The debate finally ended in 1988 when a nearly complete skeleton and skull were uncovered. The new fossils revealed a mosaic of traits from different dinosaur lineages, confirming that Herrerasaurus was indeed an early Saurischian, one of the first true members of the dinosaur family tree. It lived in the Ischigualasto Formation, where the climate was humid and seasonal with frequent flooding that helped preserve the remains of countless prehistoric creatures. Herrerasaurus shared this ecosystem with early dinosaurs like Eoraptor, Sanjuansaurus, and Chromagosaurus, as well as with a diverse cast of Triassic life, armor-plated Eosaurs, massive amphibians, and mammal-like synapsids such as Xeritodon. In this world, Herrerasaurus was among the top predators, preying on small reptiles, early herbivores like Pisanosaurus, and even its own kind. Fossilized bite marks found on Herrerasaurus skulls hint that these animals sometimes fought violently, perhaps over territory or mates. Coprolites, and fossilized dung, attributed to this species show traces of bone fragments, suggesting it could crush and digest its prey completely. Its eyes, based on fossil ring structures, suggest a cathemeral lifestyle, active during short bursts both day and night. Around 229 million years ago, in the humid lowlands of what is now Argentina, a tiny creature darted between ferns and volcanic rocks. Barely a meter long and weighing no more than a chicken, it was called Pisanosaurus, or Pisano's lizard. Don't let the name fool you though. This little thing has been giving paleontologists headaches for decades. Discovered in 1962 by fossil hunter Galileo Juan Scaglia, its remains were little more than fragments, bits of skull, a few vertebrae, a handful of bones from its hips and legs. But even from those pieces, scientists could tell it was something special. It was small, light on its feet, and clearly built for speed. Imagine a wiry, two-legged plant eater zipping around in a world still ruled by crocodile-like predators. When Argentine paleontologist Rodolfo Casamiquela named it Pisanosaurus myrti in 1967, everyone thought they had the oldest known member of the bird-hipped dinosaurs, the Ornithischians. That's the group that would one day give rise to the likes of Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus. But as the years rolled on, the story got messy. Some scientists swore Pisanosaurus was indeed the first true Ornithischian. Others said, nope, not even a dinosaur. Instead, they linked it to a strange bunch of dino cousins called Silosaurids, creatures that looked and acted like dinosaurs but technically stood just outside the official family tree. And honestly, both sides have a point. Pisanosaurus sits awkwardly between two worlds, too advanced to be a pre-dinosaur, too primitive to be a full-fledged one. It's got the open hip socket of a real dinosaur, but other bones tell a more ancient story. It's like evolution caught in the act, a blurry snapshot between almost and officially. Over the years, it's been labeled a heterodontosaurid, a fabrosaurid, a hypsilophodont, and the list goes on. Every few years, a new study drops, and the debate flares up again. Some researchers even joke that Pisanosaurus is like the problem child of the Triassic. Nobody's quite sure which family it belongs to, but everyone wants to claim it. What's certain is that Pisanosaurus was a survivor at the dawn of the dinosaur age, small, quick, and living in a world where being tiny was probably an advantage. It may not have been fierce or famous, but it was a pioneer, the first whisper of a lineage that would one day take over the planet. Among the strange reptiles and early mammal ancestors roaming the humid floodplains of Argentina 230 million years ago was a small, lightning-fast creature named Eodromaeus, meaning dawn runner, and honestly the name fits perfectly. This little predator was built for speed and also marks the dawn of the true meat-eating dinosaurs. The story of Eodromaeus began in 1996, when paleontologist Ricardo Martinez and volunteer Jim Murphy uncovered its bones in that famous Ischigualasto Formation, a fossil treasure chest that's given us some of the oldest dinosaurs ever found. At first, the fossils looked a lot like Eoraptor, but after a closer look, Martinez and his team realized that they had something new, a species with sharper claws, sleeker limbs, and features that screamed carnivore. In 2011, they officially named it Eodromaeus Murphy, honoring Murphy for his discovery. So, it was like a lean, two-legged dinosaur, barely 1.2 meters long, about 2 feet, and weighing maybe 7 kilograms, roughly the size of a modern cat, but much deadlier. Its long legs and hollow bones made it incredibly light, and paleontologist Paul Sereno estimated it could sprint up to 32 kilometers an hour, 20 miles per hour. Not bad for something that lived before the word dinosaur even existed. It had a long, low skull packed with sharp knife-shaped teeth, 15 of them, perfect for slicing through small prey. Its arms were muscular with long fingers tipped by curved claws, and its tail acted as a counterbalance when it dashed across the ancient landscape. When scientists first described it, they called it the earliest known theropod, the group that would one day give us Velociraptor, Allosaurus, and even modern birds. In other words, Eodromaeus may just be the Eve of all carnivorous dinosaurs, the one that started the line. Its discovery even forced a rethink of its Triassic neighbor, Eoraptor, which was long thought to be a fellow meat-eater. Turns out, Eoraptor leaned more toward the plant-eating sauropodomorphs, making Eodromaeus a true predator of the pair. But, as always in paleontology, not everyone agrees. Some studies suggest Eodromaeus might not be a theropod after all, but a more primitive saurischian. A dinosaur from before the split between big, long-necked plant eaters and the carnivores. Others think it sits somewhere between, close to early forms like Tawa and Chindisaurus. No matter how the debates shake out, one thing's clear. Eodromaeus sits right near the base of the dinosaur family tree, representing one of the earliest blueprints for what would become some of the most successful predators in Earth's history. In life, it probably hunted small vertebrates and insects under the volcanic glow of Triassic sunsets. A wiry little hunter in a world just waking up to dinosaurs. Fast, fierce, and far ahead of its time, Eodromaeus wasn't just running, it was leading the charge into a brand new age. Saturnalia tupiniquim. Yes, this creature was also among the oldest dinosaurs ever discovered. Saturnalia was no giant. It was about 1.5 meters long, roughly 5 feet, and weighed between 4 and 11 kilograms, light enough to pick up if it weren't for the claws and teeth. It was built for speed, running on 2 legs with a long flexible neck and a small head barely 10 centimeters or 4 inches long. Its proportions were peculiar. A neck longer than most early dinosaurs, but a skull and snout that still placed it among predators. Scientists believe it was likely omnivorous, eating insects, small animals, and maybe even the occasional plant. The perfect generalist in a dangerous new world. Classifying Saturnalia hasn't been easy. Its bones reveal a strange blend of traits from the 2 great dinosaur lineages, the long-necked sauropodomorphs and the sharp-toothed theropods. When it was first described, researchers placed it among the earliest sauropodomorphs, but later studies suggested its skull and hands looked suspiciously theropod-like. Was Saturnalia the ancestor of plant eaters or the last of the meat eaters? For years, paleontologists argued over that very question. In 2007, Jose Bonaparte and his colleagues noticed that Saturnalia shared many traits with another early dinosaur, Guaibasaurus. They proposed grouping them together in a family called Guaibasauridae, hovering right at the base of the dinosaur family tree, a possible link between the ancestors of sauropods and the first theropods. Later studies, though, leaned back towards Saturnalia being a very primitive sauropodomorph. So early, in fact, that it earned its own subfamily, Saturnaliinae, alongside its close relative, Chromagosaurus. Despite its modest size, Saturnalia lived in a world full of danger. It may have been hunted by the fearsome Staurikosaurus and shared its environment with Buriolestes, another small carnivorous sauropodomorph. While Buriolestes had a longer snout and sharper teeth, Saturnalia may have filled a different ecological niche. Proof that even at the dawn of the dinosaur era, species were already dividing up the menu.